My name is Enobo. Somewhere along the line, I was diagnosed with fibroid, and also along the line of fetal presence. I had prayed, I got all the NSPPD fibroid testimony. I lined them up. I kept praying with it and trusting God for a turnaround. Then in June, I went for NSPPD conference in the UK, and I served, and I tied my service to this. Somewhere along the line in September, then I went for a scan, and they said they are discovering, because of the fibroid, there's abnormality in the baby. And they sent me for an MRI scan. You know, when I came back from MRI scan, they came back to me to tell me that the baby does not have a brain, the baby is not going to live, and that the abnormality that has been suspected during the scan is going to be very disastrous for this child. She'll be imbecile, she'll be on a wheelchair, she can't do a lot of things, she'll have multiple seizures. And they asked me to terminate the baby. Going into 30 weeks, I said no. But there was one thing that kept happening. I stayed on the altar, and Papa kept giving words. A pregnant woman, no pregnant woman will die, no complication. He kept reversing it.
No pregnant woman will die in their pregnancy. Any complication in your pregnancy, I announce, let it be reversed by fire. Let it be reversed by fire.
And I kept going for the meeting. Somewhere along the line, they diagnosed me of secondary high blood pressure and all that because of that. But I kept trusting God on this altar. I've had a lot of testimony on this altar, so I kept feeding my child with communion, praying over the child. I put, oh Lord, show me mercy, all through, you know. I just kept my phone. I just played it all around the clock. And on September 22nd, Pastor Jerry said, around 7:20 a.m. they said the baby in your womb is not developing well. It is reversed, and you're between 5 to 6 months.
You are between 5 to 6 months pregnant. You are between 5 to 6 months pregnant. Yes, said that your child is not forming well. Your child is not forming well. The devil is a liar. For every good and perfect gift comes from above, from the Father of light, in whom there is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Wherever the hand of the enemy has touched that child, I command, let it be reversed. Let it be reversed. Let it be reversed.
And when this, I know these were the things that kept me going when this whole issue, because they had to put me on high risk as well, and they kept asking me to come into the hospital. And just as, you know, I was thinking that everything was over, they persuaded me to go and see a neurologist, that I've only seen few doctors, that because she's going to not working and all that she needs to see a neurologist. I said no. I told the lady, I said, you people are persuading me to do what I don't want to do. And secondly, I said, what God cannot do does not exist. She turned to me and said, don't you believe in science? I said, I do believe in science, but in this same science in Australia, somebody was raised from death. Why I used that, there was a testimony of a woman that died in Australia and came back to life in this altar, and that was my confidence for what I spoke that day. And after a while, I stopped going to hospital because I was fed up of all they had to say. It was now time for me to have, the due date was 23rd of December, but they asked me, all of a sudden I got a call from the doctor, can we harvest this baby early? And I'm like, doctor, I'm not going to agree to that. He said, why? I said, you can't harvest my baby. Let us rule out abnormality, that this baby was full term. Okay, I stopped seeing them and waited. So she's gone ahead, made all notes about the sickly child and all that. On the day that, because the baby was now 40 weeks and 4 days, on the day I went into the theater to have this baby, I found out that there was a lot of gadgets, a lot of people waiting around to harvest a sick baby. But what God did was that when this child was born, don't get me wrong, all my babies cried. This one came praising God in the theater. She scattered the theater with her cry. And I didn't know about this particular story. When I went into the recovery, the nurse, they asked me, what went wrong? And they told us, you're going to have a very sick baby, a very terrible baby. So, and now your baby is very healthy. Also, they didn't give up. They kept sending me for scan. They even wanted to do another MRI. I have been going for every it started every 2 weeks, 3 months, 4 months. Every month I was going for checkup. This baby has been developing. excuse my word, she's the most smartest among my children. And this child is 1 year old. I didn't sleep in the hospital one day prior to all that was predicted about her. I have come to this altar to thank God who is faithful, to thank the Elroy that saw me, Elroy that kept me, Elroy that did what only him can do. To God only be all the glory in Jesus' name.